The rain was pouring hard that night when a teenage girl, soaked and shivering, stood by the side of a lonely road, holding a small cardboard sign. "Please, just a ride. My mom needs help." Cars rushed past, headlights flashing, but nobody stopped, until one old dented blue pickup truck slowed down. The driver, a man in his 50s wearing a worn-out flannel shirt, rolled down his window. "Where you headed, kid?" The girl looked up with tears in her eyes. "To the hospital." "Please, sir. My mom, she's not breathing." Without another word, the man unlocked the door. "Get in!" Inside the truck, the heater barely worked. The girl sat trembling, clutching her backpack. "I'm Jake," the man said, trying to smile. "Emily," she whispered. Jake noticed her hands were bleeding. "What happened to your hands?" "I broke a window." "The ambulance, it never came." He frowned. "You called 911? "Yes, but they said they're delayed because of the storm." Jake pressed the gas harder. The rain hit the windshield like bullets. "Which hospital?" he asked. "St. Mary's. Please hurry." They reached a narrow bridge, half flooded, water swirling dangerously below. Jake hesitated. "This road's not safe." But Emily cried, "Please! My mom will die!" He clenched his jaw and pushed forward. The truck wobbled as water rushed around it. The tires slipping, but somehow they made it across. Finally, the bright red letters appeared in the distance. St. Mary's Hospital. Jake parked the truck and jumped out to help her. As they ran inside, the nurses rushed toward Emily's mother, a pale woman on a stretcher, barely conscious. Jake stood back, watching as the doctors worked. Emily turned and whispered, "Thank you. You saved her." But Jake just smiled faintly and said, "No, kid." "You did." Later that night, after her mother was stable, Emily went to find Jake, but he was gone. The nurse said, "The man who brought you here? He left right after you went inside." Emily frowned. "Did he say anything?" The nurse smiled softly. "Just one thing. Tell her to always keep helping people, even when the world doesn't." A week later, Emily's mother woke up. She asked, "Who helped us that night?" Emily told her everything. Her mother's eyes widened. "Jake, did he have a blue truck?" "Yes." Her mother started to cry. "Emily, Jake saved my life once too, 15 years ago." Emily's eyes filled with shock. "What do you mean?" Her mother took a deep breath. 15 years ago, when I was pregnant with you, I got into a terrible accident on this same road. Everyone drove past, except one man with a blue truck. He pulled me out of the wreckage and stayed until help came. He said his name was Jake." Emily couldn't believe it. "So he saved us both?" Her mother nodded. "Maybe it's not a coincidence. Emily, maybe kindness always finds its way back." That night, Emily went searching for him, asking around in nearby towns, showing his photo from a hospital camera. But no one seemed to know a Jake, except one old gas station owner who said quietly, "Jake Miller? He died 5 years ago in a flood on that same bridge." Emily froze. "What? That can't be." The man nodded. "He used to help everyone, risked his life for strangers. Some folks say his spirit still roams those roads when someone's in need." Emily's eyes welled up. She whispered, "Then maybe kindness never dies." The next morning, the sky was clear, calm after the storm. Emily stood by her window, staring at the road where Jake's truck had vanished that night. Her mother sat beside her and said softly, "Maybe he was sent to remind us what true kindness looks like." Those words stayed with Emily for years. Years later, Emily grew up to be a young woman with the same determination and warmth in her eyes. She studied nursing, inspired by the people who had saved her mother's life. Every night, after long shifts at the hospital, she would drive to the same bridge where Jake had once crossed in the storm. She'd sit there quietly, whispering, "I'm still keeping your promise, Jake." She didn't know why, but whenever she was lost, that bridge made her feel safe, as if someone was still watching over her. One rainy evening, while driving home after a 12-hour shift, Emily saw a man lying on the roadside, clutching his leg. Cars were passing by, ignoring him, just like they once ignored her. Without hesitation, she pulled over, ran out in the pouring rain, and knelt beside him. "Sir, can you hear me?" He groaned. "Please. My leg's broken. I can't move." Emily helped him into her car and drove him to the hospital. She stayed until the doctors took him in and even filled out the admission forms. When the man woke up, he looked confused. "You brought me here?" Emily smiled. "Yes, you're going to be fine." He nodded weakly and said, "Thank you." Nobody stopped. "I thought I'd die there." She simply replied, "Someone once helped me too. I'm just passing it forward." A few weeks later, Emily's life took a turn. One day at the hospital, a new nurse joined their team, a confident, stylish woman named Sarah. At first, Emily was happy to have a new colleague, but soon she noticed that Sarah often took credit for her work. When patients complimented Emily, Sarah would interrupt, saying, "Oh, Emily and I did it together," even when Emily had done everything alone. Emily didn't say anything. She remembered Jake's words, "Be kind even when the world isn't." But one afternoon, when a serious patient needed immediate care, Emily rushed to help, and Sarah deliberately stopped her. "Wait, Emily, I'll handle it. You always want to play the hero." By the time Sarah acted, it was too late. The patient's condition worsened. The family shouted, demanding to know who was responsible. And Sarah said, "It was Emily's duty." Emily stood frozen. She wanted to defend herself, to scream the truth. But something inside her whispered, "Choose kindness, not revenge." She quietly said, "I'm sorry. We did everything we could." That night, she cried alone on the hospital roof. Her mother called, sensing her sadness. "Emily, what's wrong?" "Mom, I tried to be kind, but the world keeps hurting me." Her mother replied softly, "True kindness doesn't mean you'll never get hurt, my love. It means you'll never let hurt change who you are." Days later, the hospital was hit by a sudden fire, an electrical short circuit in the basement. Panic spread everywhere. People screamed, running down the smoky corridors. Emily was helping an elderly man when she saw Sarah, trapped under a fallen beam. Everyone was fleeing. Flames were spreading fast. Emily's mind flashed back to Jake, to that stormy night, to the bridge. Without thinking twice, she ran towards Sarah. "Emily, no! It's too dangerous!" shouted another nurse. But Emily ignored them. She grabbed a fire extinguisher, cleared the path, and pulled Sarah out just before the roof caved in. They both collapsed outside, coughing, covered in ash. Sarah looked at her in shock. Why did you save me?" "After everything I did to you?" Emily smiled weakly. "Because kindness isn't about who deserves it. It's about who needs it." Sarah burst into tears. That moment changed her. Later, when the hospital board reviewed the incident, Sarah stood up before everyone and said, "Emily is the bravest, kindest person I've ever met. She saved my life, and I lied about her before. I'm sorry." The room went silent. Emily looked surprised but calm. "It's okay," she said softly. "We all make mistakes." That night, as she drove home, Emily crossed the same bridge again. The rain began to fall, softly this time. Through the mist, she saw something faint ahead, a flickering blue light. And for just a moment, she saw Jake's blue truck parked on the other side, the headlights glowing. He was standing beside it, smiling at her, just like that first night. Emily blinked, and the vision disappeared. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she smiled. "I'm keeping my promise, Jake. I'll keep being kind, no matter what." The years rolled on, quietly but surely. Emily's life had changed. Her name was now known across the hospital for her kindness, honesty, and courage. But behind her warm smile was a tired heart. She had given everything to others, and forgotten to take care of herself. At 32, she lived alone in a small apartment. Her only companion, an old photo of her mother and Jake, framed together on her bedside table. Every morning she'd whisper, "Still keeping the promise." One cold evening, Emily sat in a quiet cafe after work. She was reading a letter from the hospital, an invitation to speak at a charity event for underprivileged kids. As she sipped her coffee, a man approached her table. "Excuse me, are you Nurse Emily?" She looked up. The man seemed familiar, late 20s, tall, with a kind face and deep brown eyes. "Yes," she said. "Do I know you?" He smiled softly. "Not really. But you helped me once, years ago. You pulled me off the road when my leg was broken. You saved my life." Emily's eyes widened. "You're that man? Oh my God, I remember that night. How are you now?" He laughed lightly. "Alive, thanks to you." "My name's Daniel." and I've been looking for you ever since. They talked for hours. Daniel told her how that single act of kindness changed his life. He had been a struggling artist back then, homeless, broken, with no purpose. After Emily saved him, he started painting again, and built a successful art foundation to help others like him. He looked at her and said, "You gave me a second chance when the world turned away. I promised myself that one day I'd find you and return the kindness." Emily smiled gently. "You already did. Just hearing that you're happy is enough." But Daniel shook his head. "No, Emily, you taught me what kindness means. Now it's my turn to do something for you." He reached into his bag and handed her a canvas wrapped in paper. When she unwrapped it, she gasped. It was a painting of a stormy night, a bridge, and a glowing blue truck's headlights breaking through the rain. Emily covered her mouth. "How do you know about this?" Daniel smiled softly. "When I was in pain that night, I remember you whispering a name, Jake. You said he was your guardian. I painted this from that memory, to remind you that some people never really leave us." Emily's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in years, she let them fall freely. From that day forward, Daniel and Emily began working together. They started a foundation in Jake's name, the Promise Project, dedicated to helping people in need, especially those who had lost hope. They traveled city to city, giving speeches, funding homes, rescuing children, and spreading one message everywhere they went. Kindness doesn't end with you. It begins with you. And soon the world started noticing. News channels featured their story. Magazines wrote about the nurse and the artist who changed lives with kindness. But for Emily, none of that mattered. She often said, "We're just doing what one man taught me on a rainy night." One day, during a charity event, a small boy walked up to Emily with a note. "Ma'am," he said shyly, "someone told me to give this to you." Emily opened it. The handwriting was familiar, neat, slanted, and old-fashioned. It said, "You kept your promise, Emily. I'm proud of you. Jake." Her heart stopped. She turned around, scanning the crowd, and for just a second she saw him. Jake, standing by the door, smiling, his hat tilted just the same way. And then he was gone. Emily whispered with trembling lips, "Thank you for everything." Daniel saw her tears and asked, "Are you okay?" Emily smiled through them. "Yes, I finally got my answer. Kindness is not about grand gestures. It's about doing what's right when no one's watching. One small act can create a ripple that reaches across years, lives, and hearts. So, be the reason someone believes in goodness again. Because you never know. The person you help today might become the one who saves you tomorrow." So friends, how did you like this story? Did it touch your heart? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming stories that remind us one kind act can change everything.
I just want to take a moment to say a huge thank you to each and every one of you. Folded hands, your love, support, likes, comments, and subscriptions mean the world to me. Without you, this journey wouldn't be possible. Every view, every share, and every encouraging word keeps me motivated to create more content for you all. I'm truly grateful to have such an amazing community by my side. Let's keep growing together and making this journey even more special. Red Heart.